Welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining today's webinar, our customer spotlight webinar with Bottega Veneta. They are a luxury high-end fashion brand. Hi Yaman, thanks for joining. They're a luxury high-end fashion brand. And today myself and Charlie are going to be chatting with Victoria, the global e-learning content creator for Bottega. And we're going to discuss with Victoria how she's successfully implemented EdApp into Bottega's e-learning and development program. Today, hopefully you'll be leaving here with a lot more information on how you can use EdApp to ensure a consistent brand experience globally and also using different languages. Plus, you'll also find out how to use our analytics suite to give you visibility over your training to keep your learners accountable. We are going to be having a Q&A session at the end. And as I said, please feel free to pop some questions in the chat box. And we've got a team on hand here to help with answering them. But before we dig in, Victoria, did you want to give yourself a little introduction and a little bit about your background at Bottega? Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, it might have been the headphones. This is
yeah,
technology. Yeah, we got you now. Good, perfect.
I think we're digital, so we can fix those things quickly. So yeah, I've been at Bottega for a little over a year here in Milano. And actually I joined right when we launched EdApp. So actually I joined to launch EdApp. So I arrived here on 14th of June and 15th of June is when we launched EdApp. So it really was like a full immersion with absolutely everything. And Bottega Veneta, today we have about 300 stores worldwide, and our learning population, which is basically our retail selling population, is of about a little less than 3,000.
Yeah, there's a lot of you. There's a lot of you. You've been here from the beginning. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, I think we've got a couple of icebreaker questions.
Yeah, so thanks Victoria for joining. Just a couple of icebreaker questions for you then, obviously fashion based. So we're just interested to know which city you think is the most stylish and why.
Yeah, so the city that I think it's more stylish is definitely Copenhagen in Denmark. I really like the Scandinavian style overall, and I really like that they are a little bit more edgy and they're really not afraid of trying new colors and new shapes. And I think the fact that it's cold also allows for them to play really with layering and really expressing also their personalities through what they wear. So, and it's definitely a place where I have the feeling that everybody is really sensitive aesthetics wise. So every time I go there, it's really just in love with the city and with the style of everybody on their bikes.
Great
Nice.
answer. Yeah,
I went to say Milan, right?
Yeah.
I agree as well. I went to Copenhagen last year and I was just looking at everybody's outfits the whole time.
It's
like,
amazing.
Wow. You know,
and also the decor of the places, it's just super cozy. It's a great vibe. And they're also super connected to sustainability, which I really adore. So yeah, it's special place.
Great. And so the second question for you then is there an item in your wardrobe that you associate with a special memory, and what is it and why?
So actually, I mean, it's not really in my wardrobe. It's actually outside my wardrobe because, you know, I have a pretty international background and I lived in many different cities over my life. For me, it's really important when I have the people that I really like to come visit me. So actually, on the side of it, I have a series of pictures that everyone who comes to visit me, their family or friends, I take them to the metro station and, you know, those photo machines where we take like 3 different photos in black and white. And I basically make them take those photos with me together. And then I have a pretty good collection of them on the side. It's super beautiful. And it's just a daily inspiration every time I see it, and I see everybody who it's really dear to me, and I just cherish the moment that we're there when they came to visit me.
Love it. Yeah, that must be a good way to keep the memories close when you're moving around the globe. So yeah, love that answer. But yeah, if we jump into the nitty-gritty of it then, Victoria, because I'm sure everyone is itching to hear your wise words and your advice for EdApp. So we want to take the viewers kind of through the journey that you've had with EdApp so far, starting with that initial launch period that you just mentioned, actually. So you've got roughly around 3,000 users within EdApp at the moment. So what did training look like for these users before EdApp? What kind of challenges were you trying to solve when you came in and took that EdApp project on?
So basically the platform that we had before was mostly was not a mobile learning platform. So it allowed basically only learning from the desktop. It could be accessed from the mobile, but it was really not user-friendly. So the main challenge that we had at the time was really learning from the computer, and it had a lot of text. It was obviously much longer. So basically it had the same approach as the learning face-to-face, but digital by yourself. So obviously it was not as engaging.
Okay, interesting. And so did you find that kind of lack of engagement, that lack of mobile learning affected the completion rate?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because of course, if it's less interactive, it was seen much more as an obligation than as something fun to do on a daily basis, and something, that they could maybe play games. It was really more text. So obviously, yeah, they were not as engaged as they are now, for sure.
Okay, yeah, definitely a big topic with these LMSs. So glad to hear that engagement side of it has come into it a lot for you. And when you think about the analytics side of things and being able to check on these learners actually creating them, was that a struggle as well with the previous system?
Yeah, I mean, with the previous system, yes, analytics was definitely a little bit more complicated, especially because, as you know, it was not connected to our Workday database, so to our employees database. So we had to cross the information all the time. And then it's true that in the beginning, when I took over EdApp, we went through a phase where we had the two LMS working at the same time, because we were basically migrating everybody from one LMS to the other. And so for about 3 months, I had both analytics on both of them. So I had to match both of them, and that was quite tricky.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work. And so can you tell us a little bit more about that integration with Workday then? How has that kind of streamlined things for you a little bit more?
Well, basically, I set an objective for myself in terms of integrating the app. So I told myself, okay, so we started in June, and we have until end of the year to make sure that everybody's onboarded, and that we managed to really bridge everything as smoothly as possible. So the way we did it is that we really set with our training managers, which we have about 24 training managers over the world, who are in charge of different regions. And they really helped me in this onboarding. They were really some sort of, let's say, EdApp ambassadors for me, where I couldn't be physically. And we did different calls, because at the time we couldn't go there physically. So we did different calls with the store managers to really present EdApp, explain what was the objective, and especially how it should be used, which was obviously a big change from the one before. So before, for them, the digital learning was more sitting in front of the computer, reading through it, answering maybe some questions of right and wrong, and that's it. And actually, we had really to explain to them that the way EdApp works is that you can do it little by little. So even though you have different lessons, it's okay to do maybe one lesson today and one lesson the day after tomorrow. And this was really a shift in mentality that it took a couple months for them to really get into it and get used to this approach.
Okay, that's interesting to know. Yeah. And so when you speak about, all of these different regions taking on this new tool, what do you think makes EdApp such a good tool in the retail environment specifically?
Well, it's definitely the fact that we have those bite-sized contents, right? So, it's such a fast-paced environment that they don't really have the time to sit maybe for 40 minutes or 1 hour to learn something about a specific subject. So the fact that we have those bite-sized contents really allows to adapt to their different routines, and also allows for them to manage their own time. So they can organize their days and their learning experience according to their own routines. So they can do it maybe a little bit in the morning. Some prefer to do it a little bit in the afternoon. Some prefer to dedicate one specific day to doing that. So that's super nice, because it's not really a structured thing, but you can really have it like tailored to your own needs.
Yeah, definitely. So it seems like that flexibility is something that's really crucial for the teams and the success of the project. And so when it comes to how you deployed EdApp into the stores that you've briefly touched on, what would the store manager's experience like in terms of kind of pushing that change onto them and that new system?
So to be honest, as I was saying, it was more the training manager's role to really push it into the stores, and push it also to the store managers, who were obviously also as part of the team, also had to get used to this new solution. I think that the main difference, and what made difference for them and really help us with the engagement, is the fact that I could give access to the analytics to them as well. So today, most of our store managers, they can actually access also the administrator part of EdApp, and look at the results and track the results with the manager dashboard for our stores, for their specific stores. So this is super nice, because it really gives them some sort of ownership. And then at the same time, as we are following up on the big picture, they follow their own stores. And so this changes completely their relationship that they have, obviously, with the application.
Okay, great. Yeah, so giving some autonomy to those stores and those regions really kind of helps those tactics. And so touching on that a little bit more, then going a bit deeper, we've talked about how the the features are engaging. The users really want to use the app because it's fun, it's interactive. Is there any other ways that you kind of keep those learners engaged? Like following up, any kind of notifications, any kind of reports that you run, and then off the back of that, there's an action that you perform?
Yes, so we have many different actions that we take on different levels. I would say that obviously the first one is that we run those monthly completion reports, and we have very clear and specific targets that we want to reach. So for example, we expect everybody to have an average of 90% of completion rate. And this is something that is communicated every month, and we look at it every month, and we really follow up closely. And also more recently, we also established as a new KPI, also the knowledge retention, so their average score on each course, which should be at least 90 as well. So in that way, they know what's their target, and they know what they have to achieve, and they know that if they don't achieve that, maybe then they should do it again and again until they really absorb the whole information. And so that's definitely a very, very strong action that we have. Then we also really work with the local markets and the local management to come up with maybe incentive actions or completion actions that they can, in order to incentivize their local teams to complete the trainings and in EdApp. So for example, with the United States, they came up with a very creative thing that each store, they created their own board, really, like they bought like a cardboard, and they personalized it. So some of them took like pictures of their faces on top of different cars, or some did like a different path. So they really got very creative with it. And so for everybody who was completing it, they were like placing and changing the place like a little more further, so they could see really physically the competition in the back of the house. And then they also shared the different posters with their local management. So the president in the US voted for the most beautiful poster and for the people who were more engaged. So they, and you know, retail population, usually they're very competitive. So it worked very, very well. And then besides that, also this week, we just finished also a local challenge, no, a worldwide challenge, where we, to really engage everybody. So we asked the whole world to complete 3 key courses that we launched recently and that are mandatory and super important for us. And the winners for each of the regions would win a handbag. And so everybody was doing it, and they were really also engaged. And then obviously the other criteria was not only their completion and score of those 3 main courses, but also their overall EdApp 2022 performance. And so this is super nice, because we also managed to then in that way congratulate those who access EdApp the most and have the best average score and who are really engaged and go inside the app every single day. So it was definitely a big incentive. They loved it. And yes, and now they're super happy that they're gonna receive their handbag soon.
Yeah.
I think I would be as well.
Yes, right. Yeah, we were saying that in the office, like, oh, I wanted to participate to get a bag. And we also created, well, we used the banners a lot as well. And as you know, the solution that we found with the banners is that to make it a little bit dynamic, because we cannot translate it, so we make GIFs. And then we use the banners as in GIFs, so it has movement. So when you open our EdApp landing page, the first thing you see is the banners, and they move. So it's nice because there's movement and they're always changing. I try to change them on a weekly basis. So every time you enter, it's novelty going on and you see what's new. So what's new, it's always on the banners. We had also created a catalog, which is basically this big PowerPoint with which contains all the contents that we have as of today in EdApp. And then it contains, you know, a screenshot of the screen of that course, and how long it lasts, how many languages it's available, and a QR code and a link, so that maybe, you know, if they need, they can just take that one specific course page and share it through WhatsApp, through email, or even print it and put it in the back of house. So it's a way for them to really make it as accessible as possible, to have as many ways as possible to access all the courses that we have. We also obviously love the notifications, especially now that we have the new feature that when a course is about to expire, they get the notification. They even sent me lots of screenshots saying, oh, we're so happy that we finally have it. This is great. They were very happy with it. And we also asked for constant feedback to them. So it's also a way to keep them engaged, in the sense that we listen a lot to the learners. So it also asks for feedback at the end of each course, but we also have a session, the feedback session inside EdApp, that we always access to see what is it that they're asking for, what is it that we could improve, and we actually put those improvements, and if we can, into place, so that they feel heard and that it's really, it's made for them. So obviously they're happy to see it.
Wow, it seems like you have really nailed the whole engagement side of it, Victoria. Lots of different methods. The handbag one being my favorite, but yeah, interesting as well to see kind of the spirit of competition, which the leaderboards in EdApp as well can really help with as well. So yeah, really interesting. I'm going to pass over to Liv now. She's got some more questions on kind of how you're using it today in a bit more detail in those features.
Yes.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, and also it sounds amazing how you've actually utilized basically all of the features. So let's head into more. Let's head into some more of these features that you're using really well. So we know that you're training your teams in different languages, for example, Italian, English, Japanese. You've got a bunch of different languages that you're using on there. So what is the process that you take when it comes to translating the training? Because we have a few different ways. We have the AI, we have the strings, all sorts. So what is it that you're using?
So most of the time, every time I create a new content inside EdApp, what I do is I create a folder, which is the training package, as I call it, which basically contains all the contents that we want to share. So for example, we do this little poster, as I said, the training catalog. So I usually put it there. All the QR code, the links, like everything that they need to boost that course. And one of the things that are part of the training package is the translation. So as of today, most of our trainings, we use the manual translation, the strings. It's how it works the best. And then we leave it up to each region on how they want to do it. So some of them, they use an external translation agency. Some of them, if it's a smaller region, their own training managers, they do it themselves. And then they send it back to me and then I upload it. Usually for AI translation, I use it mostly for really small contents. So for example, we have a whole session, a whole training collection that we call Expertise Series, which is basically videos. And because they already translate the videos and basically the lesson is there to host the video only. So the only things that we need to translate are basically the cover, the title, and really the conclusion. So in that we do AI because it's faster, it's more practical, and there is no much space, for misinterpretation.
Yeah, it seems like you've got it down to a T then. And with the AI translation, it is a very accurate way, but then obviously you might have to get people to check it again. So it's good that you're just using the strings initially and sending it straight out to get that done. Seems a bit more efficient for you guys. So we also know that Bottega is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to utilizing the discussions feature. So I was wondering, you're like, oh no. So I was wondering if you could share a bit more about how you use EdApp's discussions feature to encourage peer learning between your learners.
So basically, we every season, every fashion season, we have a new collection, and with each new collection, we have a new training. So as part of this training, obviously, we always go through the key pieces, how to talk about those key pieces and the key products. And a big and very important part of our trainings is also how to style those pieces and how to present them to clients every new season. And so basically, we came up with the idea of using the peer learning as a way for teams to put to practice what they learn as in styling tips. So, we have general styling tips that you can see anywhere. For example, I don't know, if you wear black, it kind of makes the silhouette longer. If you wear white, it doesn't. So if you wear stripes, it makes it more large. So those little things that they already know. And then we want to see if they got this information correct and how they should put it to, and then they should put it to practice and share with everybody. So we thought that peer learning would be the great tool for that, because we give them a brief. So in the description of the peer learning, we tell them, so think about a client, one of your clients, choose one key piece of the collection that usually is a key piece that we have to sell more, that we have to focus on, and put together an outfit that you would present to that specific client. And then you can either dress it up yourself, you can dress it up on a colleague, or just on the hanger. So it's different really from place to place, because some of them are shy, so they don't want to show up in the photos. So they just really do it on the hanger. And in that way is very interesting, because we really managed to see what they're doing on each region. So it's also for us in the training, the side of the corporate, it allows us to see what did they learn from it, and how do they think, how are their clients, also what products they have in store, and to really see how we can give them feedback. So it's very nice, especially Korea team is super engaged on it. They really love it. And our training manager for Korea team, she really took the time to comment on each one of the photos, giving feedback. So saying, oh, hey, so for example, Liv, really like the outfit that you put together. The combination of purple and yellow is really good. We're happy that you remember that. Maybe next time, besides the sneakers, propose a pair of heels. So she really also gives, she uses it also to give constructive feedback to the teams also. So that's amazing. It not always works for everybody. So some people, they think it's like a feedback page. So they give me emojis, or they just say, oh, amazing training. And so I have to always be reminding training managers to communicate to the teams that it's actually a place where they have to share a picture, not just share feedback. Yeah, but it works super well. They really, really like it. It's super fun.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, it's a really fantastic way to be using it. And obviously, you know that the learners are doing their training, you know, on the app, but can they actually put it into play and actually put them, you know, outfits together? Maybe I need to do some of your training as well. I don't know.
Yeah. And most
be good.
we did a very nice thing with another department at Bottega Veneta, the merchandising team, who, you know, buys the collection and the products. Yeah. And they actually took the peer learning, and then they looked at the numbers of sales of the specific products that we pushed in that peer learning, so that we could see that during the period when they were doing the peer learning and pushing, I don't know, specific handbag, the sales of that handbag went up. Oh, and then when the time from passed, then it went down. So it's really cool because we could really see some relation to it.
Yeah, and you can really focus on, if there is something in particular you want to be focusing on selling that month, you could do some training on it. Oh, that's so interesting. And it really encourages collaboration between them as well as getting feedback. So that's great. We also want to know a little bit about your e-libraries, if possible, and how you use your micro lessons to create these e-libraries for your learners.
Yes, so we wanted to create, in addition to the contents that we have related to Bottega Veneta, we wanted also to create something that would go a little bit beyond in terms of fashion knowledge. So we thought about creating this sort of glossary about fashion in general, where the teams could organize in alphabetic order. And we made a selection of keywords and or key names and brands that it's important for us to know as people who work in fashion. And we thought about creating this sort of glossary inside EdApp, organized in alphabetical order and with this sort of keywords as in hashtags in the subtitles, so that they could also search it in the search bar. And really, when they had some free time, they could access it and maybe learn something new about it. And then the main issue was the format, because obviously we thought about maybe uploading a PDF format, but then it would be tricky in the briefcase and it wouldn't be that accessible. Then we thought about maybe making one lesson per letter. So one lesson for all the letter A, one lesson for all the letter B. So we really brainstormed a lot on how to do it. And in the end, we came up with the idea of making one lesson per word. So it would be organized in alphabetical order, and then they could immediately access that specific and look for it in the search bar. The issue was that obviously if we did it in the classical way, so with the cover, the content, and the exit page, it was already a lot of clicks for just one word. So if you want to do many words at once, it's hard because you have to, you know, go at least 3 clicks, and then the click to go in, the click to go out. So it was too much. And actually my manager challenged me because I did it that way. And she was like, no, it's too many clicks. Mm-hmm. And I told her, but I don't know what else to do. What else can we do? And so we're thinking. And we could not delete the exit page. So I came up with the idea of really putting all the content in the exit page. And so that's what we did. So we basically took out all the pages. We kept only the only one mandatory page that we cannot take out, which is the exit one. And we put the content there. And then to share more than one picture per name. So for example, we have the A line. The A line that was born in 1943, founded by Christian Dior, and so on. And so we want to show more than one picture for that. So we put a GIF. And then at the background of the lesson, so as in the theme of the lesson, we put a gift, so with different pictures to rotate. And then on top of it, I put a square which was white, so we could really see the text over the pictures, and otherwise it would be image and text, and the text is black, so it couldn't really read well. So for each of the GIFs, we had the square to kind of back up the text. So it was really an improvisation that worked well, and that served the purpose for sure.
Yeah, I've not seen anyone else use it in that way, so it was really interesting to see that, and really useful. It's like a whole dictionary of all the different cuts and fabrics and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, very nice.
So following on from that, what is your process for bringing other training onto EdApp? Does the content exist beforehand? Did you create it straight in EdApp, like from scratch? And do you do this through like storyboards or a content calendar, that sort of thing?
So it depends on the content, but usually I always start with something that exists. Most of, I would say 90% of the time, I start with something that exists. So for example, collection trainings or some other operational training, usually I let's do collection training, which is the one that I do the most. Basically, we have the face-to-face training. So I have Federica, who creates those trainings which are PPT format, to be delivered in person. She's my partner in crime, and she creates all those contents. Then what we do in the beginning is that we are big fans of the blended learning approach. So at the beginning of every new collection, we try to define what is it that we want to talk about in the face-to-face training, which usually has a limit of about 2 hours to be delivered. So that's the maximum amount that we want to keep our sales associates in a classroom. And then we have the EdApp contents also, and then we decide which kind of contents we want to put in EdApp, which also, we have some sort of time limit. So all the lessons together, they have to be maximum 25 to 30 minutes, but they are divided in small lessons. And so together we decide, okay, what's the information that we want to have in face-to-face? What's the information that we want to have in EdApp, and why? So EdApp should be more of a straightforward information, something that they probably will need to come back and check over time over the collection. And so what I do is that I take this PowerPoint presentation, I sit with Federica, we define what it is that we want to put inside the EdApp that is the most straightforward information, or for example, the styling information followed by the peer learning and so on. And then I like working with an Excel. So I really create an Excel scheme, and I define lesson 1, what's the title of the lesson 1, and what are the different topics that I want to approach, which usually end up being more or less the pages inside the lesson. Obviously, then I add the quizzes, so it ends up being more, but then I define that. And then I have lesson 2, so it's in another cell, and then the title, and then what are the topics that I want to have. And besides that, we also have the learning objective with it. So what's the topics we want to approach? What's the objective by approaching this? What's the final objective? What do I want them to learn? So it's really structured. At least I start from this Excel, because it helps me really think and also calculate how long it will take if we're approaching, the amount of slides per lesson. So kind of have like a big picture of it all. And then obviously when we start making it, there are always some changes that we make along the way, or that we add or take out in the training. But I usually start with an Excel.
Yeah, that sounds very organized. It sounds like a very good structured way to go forward, making your lesson. So, and I'm glad it's been working well this whole time as well, because the results speak for themselves. And speaking of results, I think we're going to head on to the results with Charlie now. So she's got a few questions on that. We did have a couple of questions come in as well just before then, sorry. So we had one from Constance Victoria. This was actually from the start of the webinar, but she just said, all of the users of Bottega, are they equipped with mobile phones, or are they just using their personal mobile phones to do this?
90% of them are equipped with their mobile phones. Those who are not, either because sometimes they start working in the store And then because they are newcomers, their iPhones have not arrived yet. I guess IT is the same everywhere in the world. So sometimes the iPhone is late. And in that case, we tell them to use the store's iPad. So all stores, they are equipped with an iPad, and they also have at least one computer available. So if they don't have their own iPhone, they can access it through the store iPad or through the store computer, never from their personal phones.
Okay, so they have somewhere to do it. That's, yeah, I think that's what Constance wanted to know. So thank you for that. Just thought we'd cover that one because it was from the beginning. But yeah, Charlie, if you want to head into your section now, that'd be great.
Thank you. Yeah, so obviously we've talked about the launch, we've talked about how you're using EdApp at the moment. So I wanted to go into a little bit more of the results that you've seen from it. Something that I wanted to touch on first that you just mentioned that's really interesting is how you like the blended learning approach. So do you have any kind of advice for our viewers about blended learning, how you tackle it, and what you found from that blended learning approach?
We try to, I think that's, yeah, definitely decide that we want to do blended learning, and then sit together with the team, if you're not doing it by yourself, and decide really what kind of contents are appropriate for what kind of formats, right? So what kind of contents are more appropriate for something that is done more face-to-face in a classroom, such as, for example, a big brainstorming together, or maybe a face-to-face discussion, or talking about an inspiration where, it needs a human being being inspirational about it, and like listening and making everybody talk. Or, when you need to have the product with you there, so they have to touch it and so on. And what's the kind of content that is actually more appropriate for the e-learning. That's one thing. And then another thing is we try to use most of the gaming activities that we use to animate the face-to-face training. We try to use EdApp for it. So that's my number one requirement. I always try to, every content that we use that is outside of the PowerPoint, I asked for them to be coming from EdApp. So it's either a quiz, so they can if they have to do a quiz or true or false, these activities inside EdApp. So they go to EdApp, they do the true or false activity, and then they go back to their face-to-face training presentation as they are there. So because they have all their phones, so we have usually in the PowerPoint presentation, we have a page, and the page has an iPhone screen with the EdApp screen of that lesson, then the QR code, and then from wherever they are, either from the other side of the screen or in person in the lesson, they scan the QR code, they go into EdApp, they do the quiz, and then they go back into the presentation. So it's kind of this live approach, right? And then if they have to give a feedback about that training session, we also do it in EdApp. So we try to all the time really mix both of them.
Great. Yeah, I think there's some really good advice there, and obviously blended learning is something that we're passionate about as well, so definitely some good tips there for the viewers. So going back to that results side of things then, since implementing EdApp, what kind of improvements have you seen?
I think, yes, overall, definitely the team is more knowledgeable because they have more access to information. They have more access to more information. So obviously, that's for sure something that we see. They are definitely more eager to learn because it's also fun. I think that also in terms of, let's say, workflow improvement, it's what I was saying, that we managed to distribute information in a much more practical way, in a more digestible way. We really managed to share what's digital, what's face-to-face, and that makes it easier, lighter, and easier to learn for everybody.
Great. No, it's really good to hear that, it's helped so many learners learn in a more efficient way, I guess, is the best way to put it. But you've spoken a lot about analytics and how that has been useful for holding people accountable. But has it also inspired you to uncover any other areas of training that you've decided to put into EdApp that you realised needed to be focused on more?
Yes, so well, EdApp really allowed us to go deep in certain content. So, for example, as I was saying before, the expertise series, which is those short videos that we focus on the craftsmanship of our products every season. So the fact that we can share videos inside EdApp and then measure who opens those videos and who doesn't is a big. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do that without EdApp. And we came up with this idea thanks to this possibility. Then of course the peer learning, for sure. It was an idea that was obviously opened by the fact that we can also share those pictures in EdApp and open really the discussion. And even, I mean, also the glossary formats, the possibility to organize something from A to Z and to have this open content that is not mandatory, but that they can access anytime, anywhere when they feel like learning something new also.
Okay, great. But I think one of the key things that I've taken out of this session is definitely that you are using most of the features within EdApp, which is amazing. And that kind of blend of everything is what's helping you to ensure that consistent brand experience. But are there any features that you would love to see on the platform in the future? What's on your wish list?
I'm glad you asked. I have a
list.
I have, well, I think one of my main requirements that I would love to have things more personalized to the brand. So something that I've been asking since day one is to have the app icon personalized to the Bottega Veneta. So if we could have it in our color or with the Bottega Veneta name, so it's easier for them really to recognize it in their open screens. Same for Brain Boost, for example. So to, instead of having the blue, to have it maybe with a brand image or with a specific color. You know, we are very attached to pretty things. So we like to open it and see everybody, like all the colors matching and everything beautiful. Obviously, I would love to be able to extract peer learning reports, because as you saw, it's something that it's getting the attention not only of the training and the retail population, but also the management, the big management inside the company and the merchandising teams. So the possibility of tracking who posts pictures and having the pictures posted, what are the products feature, the locations, and have it extracted easily so we can compare it to sales performance, that would be amazing. To have also, I have a list here, to have automatically translated notifications and also program notifications. So, you know, when I send a translation, I can only send it in English worldwide, but Japan doesn't really like English. So maybe if it could automatically translate for all the countries, and also if I could program that every Tuesday and Wednesday, a notification goes out for a specific topic automatically without me having to go there manually, that will help a lot. Also having a link in the banners. So, you know, we have the banner. So being able to click on the banner, I have a banner about summer 23 collection. If I click on the banner, it takes me straight to the training. So I don't have to go inside the course collection and search for it, but it just click on it and takes me automatically there. Then maybe work on some sort of more personalized glossary format. That would be amazing. So we don't have to use the exit page, but maybe, you know, have something more connected to that. And obviously big request, not only for me, but for all the retail population, as in more quizzes and more games.
Thanks for that, Victoria. We're always looking for feedback, so we appreciate that, and I'm sure Liv will be passing it on for you. So a kind of question to end it then, because I know we're coming towards the end of our time together. It's more of a personal question for you, Victoria, but what have you learned about training and development throughout your career that you wish you knew when you started off?
I learned that definitely it has to be interactive, and that my final client is not the store client, but it's the learner. So it's the person who is my employees, right? So it has to be interactive, and it has to mostly be about them. So from the moment that it's about them, so I ask them to share, for example, with peer learning, their outfit, or if I ask them to share their opinion about the specific topic that we're talking about, and really make it more about a conversation rather than just a presentation. it's immediately improving the involvement and the engagement. So it's really, I think that it's key really to make it about the people themselves. And yeah, it makes really a complete difference.
Great. That's super interesting. Thank you for that, Victoria. Lots of great advice, lots of insightful information into how you're using EdApp to ensure that consistent brand experience. So I'm going to pass over to Liv. She's going to see if there's some questions from the viewers in the Q&A box.
Yeah, sorry, we do have a question actually from Chris Robinson. I think you may have touched a little bit on this earlier about how you structure the lessons through using Excel and all that sort of stuff, but I'll just answer it. I'll just ask it anyways. So do you use EdApp for users to access information quickly in a flow of work? I see you mentioned the glossary in the webinar description. So how do you distinguish this content from what is required for training, and how do you structure it best for UI, so user experience?
I mean, we don't really separate it in EdApp. We just communicate it. So whatever content that is mandatory and then is for them to really complete, then we make it mandatory with the EdApp feature. And usually those have a deadline, and we also communicate to our training managers and to everybody, like, so this training, this is mandatory. And then whatever it's not mandatory and it's more for consultation, we really communicate this is open for consultation, and it's really something that you can come anytime you need. And also in the beginning of the glossary, in the first page before the first letter, we have an introduction that explains how that training should be approached. Yeah. So I think also that's a good solution. If in the first page before really starting, we have a mini introduction saying what's the objective. Yeah, definitely. And then they can focus on them aspects. How they should approach their learning experience from that specific content. Yeah, and it's good to know what takeaways they should be getting from the lessons as well. We also have another message, a question from Constance, who said, what are the topics that you address in the digital training? Is it mainly on products and collections, or are there other things that you do training on, maybe health and safety or anything like that? We do immersion, so everything that is for newcomers. So really an introductory for the brand, about the brand, the collection, the history, and also our client journey. We do the collections. We do the expertise series, which are the videos so focused on craftsmanship. We do have a part called how-tos, where we basically have guidelines and operational tutorials. So for example, how you serve food and beverage in the store, or how we should wear the uniform guidelines. So what should you match with the uniform and so on, things like that. We also have a new part that is called operations, where we have more operations training. So like related to SAP, omnichannel, all those operational programs, which actually I usually work in four hands with the operation team. So I teach them how to use EdApp, and then they create the contents directly. And then I just take a look to make it cute and to, make it more learning friendly. Yeah, so these are most of the contents that we have as of now. And then, yes, also the glossary. So a little bit of everything, but always for the retail population. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that answer. I just want to see if there's any more questions. I'm not sure if we have any other specifically for you, Victoria. Let me just double check. Has anything popped up to you, Charlie, that you can see?
I think there's one that's just come in that is for Victoria from Amanda, which says, I'm interested in learning if Bottega Veneta has a reward incentive structure and if they can share their experience. I think we briefly touched on it beforehand, didn't we? The kind of competition side of it, being able to use to win that handbag. Yes. But is there anything else you do in terms of rewards and incentives?
Yeah, well, since it's just been 1 year that we're alive, actually the last incentive, the handbag one, was the first challenge that we launched, and we had no idea how it was going to, end. Obviously, in the end, was positive, but we don't have a fixed incentive. Let's say, like every time there's something new, we don't have yet a fixed incentive where every time you reach a certain amount of points or whatever, they earn something. It's more specific random challenges that we did. We did this one this first time. It was a success. So probably we're going to be doing more in the next year. And also we have to work on our badges because we didn't yet have time to touch our badges, which is something that I want to do, to personalize them and to maybe look more into detail for them. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that answer. Sorry, I just had a little technical difficulty there, but are we back? No? Can you see the PowerPoint? Charlie?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I've got one more question for Victoria though from
Okay.
David, which is, what are the consequences if somebody or a particular region is routinely below expectations? How are they engaged to get on board with the program?
Yeah, so that's a good question because it's something that it's a reality that I do face. There are obviously regions and countries that perform less than others. And here's what we do. We have at the end of every lesson, we have a small survey that we call NPS, which is basically the Net Promoter Score. Usually in retail, we use that with clients. But we use the NPS with our learners, and we ask them to rate their learning experience from 1 to 10. And then we also put a question, what would you improve about this training? And what did you like about this training? So every month when we do our reports, we also extract the survey's content. So for every content that I create, I have an evaluation about that content. And then, NPS works that you have detractives, passives, and promoters. And then we look at all the detractors, and usually the regions who have less performance are the ones who have more detractors. And so I really look into each one of them. And then because I have the training managers for each region, I schedule a one-to-one talk with the training manager. And I do it a lot because it's really something that it's a monthly issue. And I talk to them and say, hey, listen, so these are the feedbacks that we received. The detractors, maybe they don't like certain activities. So it can be that they don't like a certain game, and that's why they rated the training badly, or they would like to have more information about a specific topic. So that is why maybe they don't like their experience so much, and that's why they don't feel motivated to learn. But it's also about how you communicate to them. So it still happens to me that sometimes I go visit a store and they say, I don't have time to sit down for 40 minutes to do an EdApp training. And then I have to tell them, listen, but that's not how you should be approaching the app. The way you should approach it is that it's divided in different lessons, right? Each lesson is maybe 8 minutes. So today you do this lesson, then the day after tomorrow you do another lesson, and you have the whole month to complete it. So it's really taking little by little. So it's about changing the mindset on how they approach it. And it's really an everyday work, because even though we communicate 1,000 times, there is still someone who doesn't really get it, and we have to explain again and again. So it's talking now with the training managers, going on the store visits and speaking to the detractors themselves and trying to understand from them what is it that they don't like about it. And if it's like a mindset thing like that, really explain to them over and over again until it changes.
Amazing. Perfect. Thank you for that answer. We do have more questions. David said also excellent information. So thank you, Victoria. Which one should we go for next? So we had one from Constance, also mentioned, we haven't asked Constance's most recent one, on the retail population. So do you use it for corporate also?
Yeah, no, we don't use it for corporate. So the corporate training office is completely different than the one I am right now. And they use the HR platform, which is Workday. And for now, that's the one they've been using.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Any others at all? Matteo, we will answer yours in an email after. We don't have the answer right now, unfortunately. But yeah, let's see if there's any other questions. Charlie, can you see any other new ones as well?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting one here from Steve, and this is for people who are just about to get started on their EdApp journey. But how long did it take to kind of create and launch your first bits of training, your first courses?
It depends on the course, right? It depends on what's the content and what's the theme of the content. So obviously, I mean, I can only speak for my collection trainings and so on. Obviously, for example, the immersion trainings, which are super big and they need a lot of approval because they talk about the brand history and so on, that to structure it, approve all the contents, then review it, translate it and so on, it took more or less about a month to really, because it's a big one, and that's the one who lasts in total 40 minutes. Then collection training, usually it takes me really not much, especially when I do that scheme in the Excel before to organize it. Then I know exactly what I have to go for. And in that case, maybe it takes me 1 to 2 weeks to create all the contents. Then we give more or less 2 weeks for translation.
Okay, perfect. That's really insightful. Thank you for that. More comments saying great. Thank you very much for that interesting information. And thank you so much for your time from Liz as well. They're looking to launch EdApp as well. So this has been very informative. So I'm glad it was helpful, Liz, for you. So if there's any other questions, we have a couple more minutes. But if not, we'll probably wrap it up in a moment. So we'll wait and see if a couple more come through and then we can, head off for today. Do you have any questions yourself, Charlie? Anything you want to ask?
Do I have any questions? Let me have a think. I'm sure I've got lots and lots for Victoria. I guess as well, what kind of feedback do you get from the learners themselves? I know you say you use surveys and stuff, but has the feedback been kind of overly positive? How's it been?
Yeah, overall, it's super positive. They love it. I would say that 90% is positive. They really like it. They like how it's structured. They love it all. Then I usually divide the feedbacks as in like operational things. So for example, if there's any bugs or like any images that for some reason, because they're too large, maybe they don't open, or, if their internet connection is not good, like those little things that happen. And then obviously they always ask, they wish they had more games or more, interactive activities. That's what they always ask. And then they always ask me for videos.
Yeah, I think another thing we've taken from this then is if the learner's happy, then Bottega Veneta is happy because you're getting what you need out of it, aren't you? So
we've got one more question come through. So, hi, Victoria. Thank you for the content so far. To achieve a pass rate of 90%, roughly how many knowledge testing questions are you including in your lessons? That is a very good question.
We don't really have a number.
So it's just whatever you think is appropriate.
Yeah, so every time I think that it's appropriate to pop a question or to validate that specific knowledge that I have just talked about, then we put a question there. Yeah. And it really depends on the format, because it depends on the objective that I want to check in the end. Yeah. So I guess it really depends on the content, really. Usually what I do is that, which is advice that you guys gave to me in the beginning, was to every time I say something, so every time I share information, then right after I place a game or a quiz to check if they got that information, instead of placing everything in the end. So I guess that probably helps a lot with them, because they learn something and they validate the knowledge, and they learn something and they validate the knowledge. Instead of doing maybe 10 questions at the end all at once, probably at the end, the rate goes a little bit down, I would say.
And that's definitely what we recommend as well at EdApp. Like we'd say when you're building your lessons, try for every 2 to 3 content, knowledge sharing slides, put in a question or something to, get that learner answering and engaging with the content, making sure they've retained what they've just read. And no problem. Thanks for answering that one as well. Okay, so we are probably going to finish off for today. We've literally got 1 minute to go, so that's actually perfect timing there. So thank you so much, Victoria, for joining for today and giving us all this great insight and showing other EdApp users how they can drive these successful results.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No problem. All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.